Good evening. What a quiet room we have. Hey, welcome to the February 24th meeting of your Aiken City Council. We appreciate you being here with us tonight. We want to call our meeting to order, and we're going to start with our invocation, which is going to be led by Mr. Richard Johnson, and then afterwards I'm going to ask Captain Brian Mills, if he would, to come up and lead us in our pledge. So, Mr. Johnson, if you would. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mayor and council members.
Good evening.
May we pray. O merciful and gracious Heavenly Father, once again, we come before thy throne of mercy. We come, Lord, giving thee thanks for all of the blessings that thou hast bestowed upon us. Thank you, our Father, that you had enabled us to assemble at this appointed place one more time. We pray, our Father, that whatever is done and said tonight would be done to the glory of thy name. Bless every council member. Bless our Father, the citizen of this city. All these blessings we ask now in the name of your Son and our Savior, Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Good evening, Captain.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. We'd like to start our meeting like we do all of our city council meetings by reading the guidelines for our city council meetings. Meetings are public forums in which many opinions are expressed, and the business of the city must be conducted. As such, disciplined, honorable, and professional decorum is paramount. Courteous and respectful communication is expected. During public hearings, all questions and statements from the public shall be directed to the chair. And if you wish to speak, raise your hand and I will certainly recognize you. Please approach the podium and state your name and address. In order to allow an opportunity for everyone who wishes to address council, speakers should limit their comments to the subject being discussed. Each speaker will be given 5 minutes to address an issue and may only address an issue once unless questions from council are posed to the speaker. And with that, we'll move down to additions and deletions to the agenda, and I'll recognize Councilwoman Gail Diggs for that. Councilwoman, good evening.
Good evening. Mr. Mayor and council, are there any additions or deletions to the agenda? Would there be none? I make a motion that we accept the agenda as presented.
All right. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Thank you. Councilwoman Brohl. All those in favor of accepting the agenda as presented, please raise your hand. And that's unanimous. Thank you. The minutes were provided to council before the meeting for their review. At this time, I'd entertain a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
So moved.
All right. Thank you, Councilwoman Gregory. Is there a second?
I second.
All right. Thank you, Councilwoman Diggs. All those in favor of accepting the minutes as presented, please raise your hand. And that's unanimous also. Thank you. We now move down to that portion of our agenda, presentations. And our first presentation tonight is from Aiken Senior Life Services. And I know we have their director, Miss Amy Hanna, and some of the board members. Sharon, good to see everyone. So, Amy, if you'd like to come up, we'd love to welcome you. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor Osborne, council members. I wanted to introduce myself. I'm Amy Hanna. I'm the new executive director for Aiken Senior Life Services. You provide funding to us every year, and I thought it would be helpful for me to give you kind of an overview of our organization and tell you a little bit about where we're headed in 2020. And I think it's always good to know where your money's going, yes?
Absolutely.
So Aiken Senior Life Services is celebrating 50 continuous years of service and programs to older adults. We have a proven track record of operating a coordinated transit system with Best Friend Express, Dial-A-Ride, Pony Express, and I'm sure many of you have seen our vehicles around town. We're omnipresent. Currently, we're providing about 200 trips a day, and I can tell you figure over 1,000 in a week. I can tell you since I've come on board in the past 4 months, we've increased transportation. We've been doing more rides every week. And that's a good thing because transportation is in the top 3 of unmet or undermet needs of seniors year after year after year. So that's important. Now, on the dining side of our business, we offer congregate dining services at our Aiken dining room. We also have meal sites in Gloverville, Jackson, and Wagner. We provide hot, nutritious meals to all homebound Aiken seniors in Aiken. Right now, we're serving about 300 meals a day, but we're looking to increase that very shortly. I don't know if you're aware, but the governor of our good state of South Carolina just issued a mandate recently saying that we had to eradicate our wait list. We have about 200 on our wait list right now. So we're going to go from 300 to 500 probably by the end of March. And we'll only be able to do that because of our dedicated team of volunteers. We need more volunteers. You may have remember seeing this article. This was at the end of January, front page above the fold. It was a monumental effort. And this talks about the tsunami that is headed toward us right now because we need to get those people off our wait list. So we've been looking to get volunteers. As a result of this article, we had 40 people that came and stepped up to the plate. How impressive is that? Yeah. So, and I would say to any of you, in the copious free time that you have on your hands, if you want to volunteer, come see me after this and we'll make your wish a reality. And that goes for anybody here in the audience, too. So you ask, well, with the money that we're giving, are we really making a difference? And I would maintain that you are, and I'll tell you why. Let me tell you about Peter. Peter has been coming to our dining room for 19 years now. There is a piano in our dining room. One day he decided that he wanted to learn how to play the piano, and he taught himself. So every day I have Broadway show tunes that come wafting down the hallway to my office, and that's a huge plus for him and a big win for me. So that's impressive. I like to think, too, that we're delivering more than just a hot meal. We're delivering an unscripted, undocumented wellness check on many of these people. One volunteer recently told me this story. She said she went to deliver the meal. She said, my client did not come to the door, and so she said, I pushed the door open, I went in, and there she was on the ground, separated from oxygen tank. Mm-hmm. And she said, between the two of us, she said we were able to figure out how to hook it back up again. So she saved a life. Had she come 2 minutes later, it might have been a different story. On a positive note, I will let you know that we have listed our property for sale at 159 Morgan Street. We're hoping to close on the Boots, Bridle, and Britches property on East Pine Log. Keep our fingers crossed that that goes well. So we are growing, we are expanding services, and I think we are touching lives, and I believe that in 2020 we're going to have a very, very good year. Any questions?
I would just like to say that I really appreciate your transportation. At least 35–40% of our patients rely on your transportation. So you've been a godsend for rural health services.
Right.
But yes, I think you're going to be getting even more people. We've seen an increase in patients the last few months, and a lot of them don't have transportation. It's so good to see y'all there. Is your new location going to have a negative impact on your services? I know right now you're right close to downtown where some people can actually walk to get their meals.
Gail, I think just the opposite. Most of the people, I would say almost 99% of them, are driving to our facility to receive a meal. So if we move to a new location, we're still going to be picking them up. So don't worry about that. But more than that, I think this new location is going to give us new exposure. I think we'll be attracting not only low income, but people of all walks of life, all demographics are going to be coming to our new location. So I think it's going to be a win-win.
We're happy for you.
Yes, from my mouth to God's ears.
Amen.
All right, maybe in 6 months I'll come back and give you another update. How's that?
We would love that.
That would be
you, Amy.
good.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Amy.
All right.
Truly an impact to our community, so
Certainly.
thank you so much.
Next under presentations, we have a resolution supporting Drivers for a Cure South Carolina license plate. This was an initiative by one of our own, Mr. David Turno, and David and his wife Jennifer are here with us tonight. David, if I could at this time, I'd like to read the resolution, and then I'd like to have you come up and maybe tell a little bit about the genesis, a little bit more about it, okay? The resolution reads, a resolution to support the Drivers for a Cure South Carolina license plate. Whereas the Aiken City Council recognizes that cancer is an insidious disease that has affected almost every family in Aiken, and whereas longtime Department of Public Safety employee David Turno has had family members suffer and beat cancer and has lost family members to cancer, and whereas David Turno himself is a cancer survivor, and whereas Mr. Turno appreciates the blessings of life as a cancer survivor and wishes to share these blessings, and whereas he started a 5K road race, Tag Your It, to raise funds for a specialty license plate, Drivers for a Cure, with proceeds from the plate going to a MUSC Hollings Cancer Center and the Duke Cancer Institute. And whereas the bill is under consideration by the South Carolina General Assembly, now therefore be it resolved by the mayor and council of the city of Aiken, we proclaim our full support for the South Carolina license plate Drivers for a Cure and urge the South Carolina General Assembly to pass the bill and the governor of South Carolina to sign the bill. Adopted by council of the city of Aiken at a regular meeting held this 24th day of February 2020, at which a quorum was present and voting. And it's already signed by council, but since I've already read into the minutes that we passed it tonight, perhaps I ought to look for a motion to accept this resolution. Councilman Waltz, appreciate it. Councilwoman Brohl. All those in favor, please raise your hand. And I think we'd raise both hands if it would make it even more unanimous. Thank you. David, if you'd like to come up, maybe say a few words, and then I'd like to present this to you if we could.
David Turno, 10 Flat Trail Court.
It's all right. Okay.
I started this, 2 or 3 years ago on this process. We're so close. We are so close. I understand tomorrow it's going to the full House committee. I went to the subcommittee last week, so this was perfect timing. And I know many of you have called and emailed already up there to get the support. This should go through. I mean, it's trying to find a cure for cancer. Come on. These two facilities, I started out in USC. That's where I had my brain cancer surgery. I started going to the cancer center there, but transferred to Duke because Duke has a brain tumor cancer center. And I have brain cancer, so I wanted to go to a specialist for brain cancer. So not to throw anybody under the bus, but Lieutenant Brian Key back here is also a cancer survivor who goes to MUSC. So we've talked about this. So, and everybody's going to benefit from this. I mean, we have license plates for coon dogs, for parrots, for all kinds of things. So, when the idea came up to me, it's because I had a little magnet ribbon that washed off in a car wash. And I thought, why not a license plate? I didn't think it would take 3 years. But we're almost there. And I can imagine the plate looks really great, that thousands of South Carolinians will get this plate and will renew this plate, and the money will go to cancer research. Because my hope is there's a cure for me.
Yes.
Because right now, only God has my cure.
Amen.
But I am blessed, very blessed. And so I do appreciate your support. And I appreciate the time that each one of you took with me. I know I went in some of your businesses or caught you at work or had to email a few of you. I called the mayor and ran into Ed at What's Cooking. For taking the time,
Away from home.
That's right. But the city has been really great to me. This is my 35th year with the city through this diagnosis and even working. It's a great place to work. It is a family. They've taken care of me through this cancer diagnosis, and now I'm going. So I do really appreciate your support today and for this. Thank you.
Well, David, a lot of people are going to benefit from this, so thank you for your efforts on behalf of not just Aiken, but South Carolina. And I'll say, Stuart and I were speaking earlier, we're going to send a copy of this before the General Assembly meets tomorrow to our delegation center. Young is already waiting for it. But we're going to present this one to you, if that's all right. So I'm going to come down and do that at this time. David, I can't wait to get one of these and put it on my car, man.
I'm gonna pick number one.
You should get All right, moving down our agenda to old business. Number one, this is approval of appointments and discussion of appointees to various city boards, commissions, and committees, and I'll recognize our city manager, Mr. Stuart Beedenbaugh.
Thank you, Mayor. There are two appointments for consideration tonight. Councilman Gerardo has recommended the appointment of Keith Wood to the Municipal Development Commission, and Councilwoman Diggs has recommended the reappointment of Michelle Meriwether to the Accommodations Tax Committee. And you have those two, the appointment of Mr. Wood and the reappointment of Ms. Meriwether before you tonight.
Very good. Is there a motion to accept these appointments?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Oh, I'm sorry. We both do.
All right.
Here by myself, I
Councilwoman Broll with the motion, and Councilman Waltz seconded it. All those in favor of these two names, please raise your hand. And that's unanimous. Thank you. Are there any names to be moved forward for consideration at our next meeting? This would be the time to submit them.
I would like to resubmit the names of, well, this is for the Equine Committee, Chan Carmen and Courtney Conger, both of whom are on the committee currently, and I am renominating them.
Okay. Very good. Any other nominations for consideration at our next meeting?
I would like to re-nominate Sarah Wilderson for the Equine Committee.
Okay. Very good. Moving down old business to item number 2. This is a second reading and public hearing of an ordinance to annex 140 Vivion Drive and zone it residential, single-family, RS-15. Is there a motion? All right, thank you. Councilman Gerardo, is there a second?
Second.
All right, thank you. Councilwoman Broll. Comments from staff?
Thank you. We do have, pursuant to our water and sewer annexation policy, this annexation of 140 Vivion Drive. It's recommended it be rezoned, or excuse me, be annexed and zoned residential single-family RS-15. The Planning Commission unanimously approved this at their January 14th meeting, and council approved it unanimously at your first reading on February 10th, and is before you tonight for second and final reading.
Thank you, Mr. Beedenbaugh. Any comments from the audience? Comments from council? Hearing none, all those in favor on second reading, please raise your hand. And that's unanimous. Thank you. Moving down to old business to item number 3. This is a second reading and public hearing of an ordinance to amend the concept plan for Woodside Plantation for the village at Woodside regarding signage by title and ordinance amending the concept plan for the property located at the village at Woodside. Is there a motion?
So moved.
All right, thank you, Councilwoman Gregory. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Gerardo. Comments from staff?
Yes, we have before you tonight second reading of this concept plan amendment. The original concept plan was approved by council in 2010, and there have been several revisions since. And this currently addresses the signage, the monument signage that is currently at the entrance at Silver Bluff Road. And this is something, once the work on Silver Bluff Road was complete, they were going to come to council with this requested modification. And the Planning Commission reviewed this and unanimously approved it with the conditions, the two conditions that I read into the record at the last meeting. And City Council approved this ordinance at first reading at your February 10th meeting.
Thank you, sir. Any comments from the audience? Comments from council? Hearing none, all those in favor on second reading, please raise your hand. And that passes unanimously. Thank you. Moving to item number 4 under old business. This is a second reading and public hearing of an ordinance to rezone property at 150 and 160 Rutland Drive from Industrial I to General Business GB. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Councilwoman Broll. Is there a second?
I second.
All right. Thank you, Councilwoman Diggs. Comments from staff?
Thank you. We do have before you this rezoning request. The property owner requested the rezoning from Industrial I to General Business GB to make the zoning consistent with surrounding zoning and the current commercial land uses. The Planning Commission unanimously recommended this approval at their January 15th meeting, and council had first reading and unanimous approval at the February 10th, 2020 meeting.
All right. Any comments from the audience? Comments from council? Hearing none, all those in favor of the second reading, please raise your hand. And that's unanimous. Thank you. Moving down to item number 5 under old business. This is a second reading and public hearing of an ordinance granting towing franchises for involuntary towing in the city of Aiken. By title, an ordinance granting non-exclusive towing franchises for involuntary towing within the city of Aiken. Is there a motion? Thank you, Councilman Waltz. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you, Councilwoman Broll. Comments from staff?
Thank you. We do have before council tonight second reading granting a towing franchise for involuntary towing. We had a vendor come in and request to be added to the list. They submitted an application that was reviewed and approved by Public Safety and reviewed by staff and the city attorney. At our last meeting, we did have discussion about a potential amendment to require wrecker services to be located in the city or be given the first priority. After review of this matter by the city attorney, it is believed that it should be addressed as a separate ordinance itself rather than an amendment adding a new wrecker service to the rotation list. We will have an ordinance for council consideration for first reading at the next meeting on March the 9th. And we have tonight this ordinance which passed unanimously at the February 10th meeting for consideration for second and final reading.
Thank you, Mr. Beanbaum. Any comments from the audience? Comments from council?
Yeah, let me just say, it's really nice to see a young entrepreneur start a new business in Aiken here. Mr. Parker there, we appreciate it.
Hey, welcome.
How old is he?
Old enough to drive, we know
Like a
that.
teenager.
I would agree with that. Any other comments? All right, hearing none, all those in favor, please raise your hand. And that's unanimous. Congratulations and thank you. All right, moving down to item number 6. This is a second reading and public hearing of an ordinance to rescind the balance of the Aiken Corporation consolidated loan with the city of Aiken. By title, an ordinance to rescind the balance of the Aiken Corporation consolidated loan with the city of Aiken. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Councilman Girardeau. Is there a second?
I second.
All right, thank you, Councilwoman Diggs. Comments from staff?
Thank you. We do, currently, the Aiken Corporation has an outstanding loan with the city of Aiken for $256,400, which dates back to the mid to late 2000s when both Aiken Corporation and the city were doing housing projects in several neighborhoods around the city. The current loan does allow the city manager to call the loan due to Aiken and Aiken Corporation would then have 60 months from that time to pay the loan off. We're recommending the loan be rescinded and that Aiken Corporation not be required to pay the loan back to the city. They wish to use this money for potential economic development projects in Aiken. And council heard this at first reading on February 10th and unanimously approved it, and it is before you tonight for second reading.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Beanbaum. Comments from the audience? Comments from council? Hearing none, all those in favor of second reading, please raise your hand. And that's unanimous. Thank you. Moving down old business to item number 7. This is a second reading and public hearing of an ordinance to prioritize capital project sales tax for projects. by title, an ordinance to prioritize the use of funds from the Capital Project Sales Tax 4. Is there a motion?
So moved.
All right, thank you, Councilwoman Gregory. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, thank you, Councilwoman Brohl. Comments from staff?
Thank you. We do have a ordinance to prioritize our capital project sales tax for projects. It kind of dovetails with the item right after this. Right now, we're only prioritizing around 33.45 million as we borrowed ahead 6.55 million. And we would like to reorder these projects as the ballot allows City Council to determine the order, as we can begin collecting reimbursements from what we borrowed ahead for, as money is beginning to come into the county treasurer. At the February 10th meeting, council asked for a more descriptive Exhibit A that shows the recommended funding balance, as well as showing particular general project areas that will not be funded in this initial go-through. And I believe this Exhibit A does show that. And it is before you tonight for second and final reading.
Thank you, sir. Any comments from the audience? Comments from council? Hearing none, all those in favor on second reading, please raise your hand. And that's unanimous. Thank you. Moving down to item number 8 under old business. This is a second reading and public hearing of an ordinance authorizing the city to enter into an agreement with Aiken County regarding the Aiken County Capital Project Sales Tax 4. By title, an ordinance authorizing the city of Aiken to enter into an agreement with Aiken County regarding the Aiken County Capital Project Sales Tax 4. Is there a motion?
So move.
Okay, thank you, Councilwoman Brohl. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Councilwoman Diggs. Comments from staff?
Thank you. The first 3 rounds of the CPST saw the city being distributed quarterly checks by the county treasurer. Due to a court case in another part of the state that was decided by the state Supreme Court, this procedure's been modified fairly significantly. The county treasurer will hold the funds as they're received from the state into a City of Aiken account that will accrue interest. We will file receipts and other documentation for reimbursement. In order to do this, Aiken County has drafted an ordinance that our attorney and staff have reviewed that we must enter into in order to begin receiving these receipts. And we approved this. We discussed this at our work session 2 weeks ago on the 10th, as well as passed on first reading on the 10th, and it is before council tonight for second and final reading.
Thank you, Mr. Beedenbow. Any comments from the audience? Comments from council? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor on second reading, please raise your hand. And that's unanimous. Thank you. Moving to that portion of our agenda, new business and consideration of, number 1, this is a first reading of an ordinance to annex 7 Georgann Lane and zone it residential single-family RS10. By title, an ordinance to annex property owned by Ben and Amy Triana located at 7 Georgann Lane and to zone the same residential single-family RS10. Is there a motion?
So moved.
All right, thank you, Councilman Jericho. Is there a second?
I second.
All right, thank you, Councilwoman Diggs. Comments from staff?
Thank you. We do have this annexation request pursuant to our water and sewer policy. This property would be annexed and zoned residential single-family RS10. This Planning Commission reviewed this at their February 11th meeting, and those present unanimously recommended it be annexed and zoned RS10, and it is before you tonight for first reading.
All right, thank you. Any comments from the audience? Comments from council? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor of this annexation on first reading, please raise your hand. And that's unanimous, thank you. Moving down to petitions and requests. Item number 1 is approval of recommendations from Accommodations Tax Committee for allocation of funds from the 2020-2021 cycle. Is there a motion?
I move.
All right, Councilwoman Brohl, is there a second? Second. All right, thank you, Councilman Jericho. And I know we have Chairman Peggy Penland with us here today. Any comments from staff before she comes up?
Sure. Briefly, Mr. Mayor, they worked very hard to review all the applications, the committee and staff, and they have their recommendation before council today. As you see, they are estimating $352,200 to fund the requests of $375,050 in requests, and the recommendations are attached. And Ms. Penland is here to answer any questions should there be for this request.
All right. Are there any questions from Ms. Penland? Okay.
Looks like you did a good job, Peggy.
Let me just open it up. Are there any other comments from the audience? Peggy, is there anything you'd like to say about, certainly, we would like to say to, while she's coming up, the Accommodations Tax Committee spends days working on this, and I know you receive such great compensation for it, too. So,
Yeah, we do. No, I'd like to commend the people on the committee. We had a good year. We had a really good year last year. And we were very pleased to be able to fund these events at the level in which we did. Now, you know that we have a grading sheet, and so we rate these events and these organizations upon the heads on beds and a lot of other criteria. And I'd like to commend Mary Rosbach, who did a great job, really great job, and all the other members of my committee. So we did elect to hold some funds aside for the city to help promote tourism. But I think that all of our applicants are going to be very pleased with the reward if you choose to fund them at this level.
I think they will be, too.
If I can answer any questions, let me know.
Well, you did a great job, just looking through them. I mean, well done, and,
Did the lobster races ask for anything?
Not yet. I think that's going to be the next one, right, Mary?
I just.
Lobster races.
What are you gonna do?
yeah.
Yeah. See, you have to do it way ahead.
Planning on doing it?
Is there going to be a lobster?
Yeah, I'm asking.
Yes, there will be a lobster race this year, the
good.
first Friday in May.
May, yeah. The thing is, they have to come way ahead in order to.
Right. That's,
You would think I would know, but I don't.
Well, I know where the first lobster races originated.
that's right.
Yes.
Well, I think
Grace Avenue.
there's a lot of great events and
And
organizations.
I
that
bet
have
on a
been-
lobster who won one time.
All right.
Have a question.
We've gone off the rails at
I
this
bet on
point.
one it tasted good.
No, you don't get to eat them. Okay, Gail.
I'm a member of the Memorial Day Parade Committee. Sounds like maybe next year we should ask for some money. We draw a big crowd downtown. We're one of the few cities left in South Carolina that still does a parade.
And it's a great Memorial Day parade.
Thank you.
So here's
Thank
what
you.
I would recommend.
Yes, ma'am.
These funds are for visitors who come from outside a 50-mile radius.
We have a lot of those.
So,
Some of our entries, the helicopter on the flatbed.
okay. So make sure that they apply in advance.
Okay.
And then what we tell, because it's really hard for us to recommend funding to city council for day festivals where they don't spend the night. So it's been a challenge for ADDA and certain other groups. So what we recommend is to try to figure out a way to make it a 2-day event, so they need to spend the night.
Well, what we're gonna do this year is actually try and have an event in the alley afterwards, so on Newberry Street, so this thing could go on all day.
And then they shouldn't drive home.
They'll have, well, we'll have to make it all night then.
Exactly.
Just call it Mardi Gras and be done with it.
Good advice.
All right.
Peggy, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Peggy.
All righty. All those on council in favor of the recommendation from the Accommodation Tax Committee for the allocations of the funds for the 2021 cycle, please raise your hand. And that's unanimous. Thank you.
And Mr. Mayor, if I may,
Yes, sir.
while we're on, I see.
Don't go anywhere. Lisa.
Lisa, I would like to acknowledge, week before last, Tuesday, the 11th, Lisa Hall was awarded the Hospitality Employee of the Year given by Aiken Thoroughbred Country. I know Lisa, where she was nominated, and it was a surprise.
I don't know why.
Thank you. That's all, Mr. Mayor.
Well-deserved recognition, Lisa. Thank
You
you.
can leave now. If you
All right, there you go. That's the last thing Lisa wanted also, but she certainly deserved it. Thank you for all you do. I think we embarrassed her. No? Okay. Item number 200, petitions and requests is approval of bid for Union Street Water Pipe and Hydrant Improvements Project. I'm going to ask staff to go in a little bit more detail about that before we.
Yes, this is a project for Union Street between Richland and Park Avenue. We've had some issues with some of the flow and the water coming out of it. Needs replacement of galvanized pipes and installing new valves and hydrants along the service lines between Richland and Park on the southbound side. We did have bids coming in with the low bid of $186,940 from Corbett and Sons Construction, and it is recommended this funding come from the Water Revenue Bond Valve and Hydrant Replacement Project, and we have this before council tonight for consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Beanbo. Is there a motion?
So move.
All right, thank you, Councilwoman Broll. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, thank you, Councilman Girardeau. Any comments from the audience? Comments from council? Hearing none, all those in favor of approval of the bid, please raise your hand. And that's unanimous. Thank you. Moving down to item number 300, petitions and requests. This is a request by Aiken Area Multiple Sclerosis Group for permission to place orange bows in our downtown. And what's the time? What's the dates on that?
This would be, the bows would be placed beginning Sunday, March 8th, and would be removed on Sunday, April 19th, as they have MS Awareness Week, March 8th through 14, and then the walk, April the 18th.
All right, very good. Is there a motion?
I so moved. I second.
Pick out anybody.
Councilwoman Gregory made the motion. Councilwoman Diggs made the second. Any comments from the audience? Comments from council? Hearing none, all those in favor, please raise your hand. And of course, that's unanimous. Moving down to that item under our agenda, information. Is there anything for issues and updates?
I have nothing at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Very good. With that, I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Councilman Girardeau?
Yes.
45 minutes, pretty good.
Councilman
Set a record.
Broll made a second. All those in favor, please stand up. We're adjourned.
If I hadn't brought up the lobster race.